Well, the swift collapse of Bashar Al-Assad's regime in Syria is threatening a key Russian airbase that Moscow has depended on to project influence throughout Africa. Russia has also relied on a Navy base in Syria for access to the Mediterranean. For more, let's bring in Bloomberg's Ondiro Oganga in Kigali. So, Ondiro, it's really nice to see you. Thanks for coming on to talk about this story. How significant have these bases been in helping Russia build influence in Africa?
Hi, Christine. So this base has acted as a bridge that enabled Russia build influence across Africa in countries like Central African Republic and also a place like Sudan. What was happening is that they were using these bases, and these bases were accepting Russian fuel, Russian supply via ship. And in turn, they were able to build political, military, and economic influence on the African continent at such a cheap price. What happened was they saw an opportunity and they pounced on it. In the last 5 years, there have been several military coups on the African continent. And when military governments come into power, there's sort of a separation between them and Western countries, and we've seen military on the ground exit these countries. For example, France, US, and British have exited the Western Sahel. And this has posed an opportunity for Russia to come in and fight alongside these military governments. What is happening now threatens that very ecosystem that has enabled this Russian network of mercenaries to operate in Africa. And so they'll need to overhaul the whole system moving forward. If you go back to 2018, they were there in the Central African Republic helping the government fight rebels. They've also been in Libya, and most recently, they're now in Sudan.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the story now, and there are a number of countries that seem to be benefiting from these air bases: Libya, Sudan, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali. Where do these countries stand if Russia potentially exits, and where does this new development leave Russia on the African continent?
Most of these countries have said they're going to continue their cooperation with Russia. They're hoping that Russia can find alternative routes to ensure that their supplies continue getting to the African continent. Libya could be one of those alternative routes. Russia has 4 bases there. The problem is that it's too far from Russia, and also there are airspace restrictions in Europe that will sort of hamper Russia being able to transport their supplies to the African continent via Libya. The other alternative will be Turkey. They've previously allowed supplies to fly through the airspace heading to Libya. But then again, Turkey and Russia have conflicting interests on the African continent. And so 100% partnership is not likely to be possible. But there's also something to be said about Russia. They're not doing a charity case on the African continent. They are also gaining from being here. They've been paid money to fight alongside these forces. And there are also resources that they have their eye on. Niger has uranium. Burkina Faso and Mali have gold. Central African Republic has gold and diamond. And Sudan has oil. So they have everything to benefit by being here. Chances are they're likely to take a step back, regroup, and see how they'll continue their operations in Africa.